faithfully delivering value and interpreting the world's best books. Hi there, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we're diving into the book Rational Emotive Behavior. In today's high pressure society, people are easily overwhelmed by negative emotions. For example, getting stuck in traffic can make you irritable, or being criticized by your boss can leave you down. These are mild blues that you bounce back from quickly. But other negative emotions can take root in your heart, bringing long term pain and hindering your life and work. For instance, some people experience the loss of a loved one, become so grief stricken that they fall into depression, can't even work, and have to quit their jobs. Others are overly concerned about others' opinions, even developing social anxiety, staying home all day, afraid to step outside. Everyone wants to shake off these unhealthy emotions, but emotions are invisible and intangible. There's no switch to turn them off. Often, the more you want them to disappear, the more they come knocking, creating a vicious cycle. So, is there a reliable way? This book, Rational Emotive Behavior, tells us that by using rational thinking and patience, everyone can become the master of their emotions. The author, Albert Ellis, is the father of rational emotive behavior therapy and a pioneer of cognitive behavioral therapy. He's a legendary figure in psychology who founded schools and has countless students. No one in the field doesn't know him. In the US and Canada, he ranked second in the list of the top 10 most influential psychologists, higher than Freud. Ellis's greatest contribution was founding rational emotive behavior therapy. Since the name is long, we'll just call it rational therapy from now on. Many concepts of rational therapy have completely revolutionized psychotherapy, and it's still one of the most commonly used therapies today. Actually, Ellis initially followed Freud's psychoanalytic approach, but in practice, he grew increasingly skeptical of the method that constantly dwelled on childhood traumas. Eventually, at age 40, Ellis broke away from psychoanalysis and founded his own school. His rational therapy places more emphasis on the patient's values and outlook on life. He believed that unhealthy emotions primarily stem from the patient's irrational beliefs. So, by helping them establish rational beliefs, the emotional problems naturally disappear. Ellis's rational therapy has also achieved great success in practice, healing countless people troubled by emotions. Many of his psychology books have become best-selling classics, selling millions of copies. Rational emotive behavior is one of his masterpieces. It details the philosophy of rational therapy and provides concrete methods to help people eliminate unhealthy emotions. Next, I'll explain the book's main content in two parts. First, how do unhealthy emotions arise? Second, how to eliminate unhealthy emotions using rational therapy. All right, let's start with the first point. How do unhealthy emotions arise? When discussing unhealthy emotions, some might think they refer to unpleasant negative feelings like sadness, jealousy, or anger. But in rational therapy, negative emotions and unhealthy emotions are distinct. Negative emotions can be healthy too. For example, if you accidentally forget your words during a speech, ruining the presentation, you might experience negative emotions like anger, shame, or frustration. If they make you think, oh, that was embarrassing, next time I'll prepare more thoroughly to avoid this, then these are healthy negative emotions. Ellis believed they can motivate us forward, spurring us to overcome problems. So there's no need to avoid them. But the same situation can also produce unhealthy negative emotions. For instance, after botching a speech, you feel utterly humiliated, as if the whole world is mocking you. Later, just seeing a podium triggers memories of that failure, making your heart race, legs tremble, and leaving you too terrified to step on stage. This is unhealthy negative emotion. It doesn't motivate, but creates immense psychological pressure that hinders growth. Another danger of unhealthy emotions is their tendency to trigger chain reactions. Say Xiaowang worries about poor work performance. With healthy negative emotion, his concern stays focused on work. But if consumed by unhealthy emotion, he might drink to relieve stress, leading to alcoholism, which then sparks conflicts with his girlfriend. This is the most frustrating aspect of unhealthy emotions. They can snowball a simple issue into something increasingly larger, eventually becoming a major crisis. So, how do unhealthy emotions actually arise? Ellis believes that behind emotions are people's beliefs about things and themselves. Different beliefs trigger different emotions, leading to unhealthy ones. The root of emotions lies in various irrational beliefs. The common trait of these irrational beliefs is that they totally ignore reality. They're absolute, thinking everything should match their own ideas, no exceptions. Take stuttering phobia as an example. Ordinary folks might think stuttering comes from talking too fast or being too nervous. So they often give advice like speak slowly or don't stress. But for stutterers, this advice is totally useless. Most stutterers can talk fluently when alone, but they hold an irrational belief that they must speak perfectly fluently to anyone, anytime, without a single stutter. And that's the main cause of their stuttering. For ordinary people, talking is about communication focused on content. But for stutterers, all their attention goes to monitoring themselves to avoid stuttering. As a result, every time they speak, it feels like a test, like a harsh teacher always nearby, ready to slap them if they slip. Naturally, this makes them anxious and more likely to stutter. But in real life, who can speak perfectly fluently all the time? Even TV hosts who talk for a living stumble or stutter sometimes. But stutterers just can't see this. They replace reality with imagined absolute scenarios, setting goals they can never achieve. Thus, in constant failure, unhealthy emotions arise and stuttering worsens. Ellis believes that people with these absolute beliefs tend to go to extremes, leading to various irrational inferences. There are usually four types. The first irrational inference is called self attribution, meaning attributing everything to oneself. Self attribution means believing that responsibility for everything under the sun lies on oneself. If something isn't done well, it must be one's own fault. For instance, if a salesperson fails to land a contract, they think it's all due to their incompetence and that they're unfit for sales work. But whether a contract is secured or not is influenced by many factors. It could be because the client's offer was too low, the boss wouldn't accept it, or the client had a better relationship with another company and gave them priority. These aren't things a salesperson alone can decide. Another manifestation of self attribution is believing everyone should like you. If someone doesn't like you, it must be because you did something wrong. This is classic self centeredness. As the saying goes, you're not Chinese money. Why should everyone like you? You could say the sarcasm is spot on. The second type of irrational inference is catastrophizing. This thinking believes that if something isn't done well, it will lead to terrifying consequences. It might think the earth will explode or the universe will end. For example, some college students believe that if they get a bad grade in any subject, they'll be mocked, expelled, unable to find a job. Everything's ruined. You might think, what nonsense. That's such an overactive imagination. But some people do believe these imagined disasters and won't listen to reason. The third type of irrational inference is damnation. This thinking is the opposite of self attribution, shifting all blame to others while believing everyone should treat you well. When facing unfair treatment or dislike, you become furious, condemning them as vile scoundrels who deserve hell. The fourth type of irrational inference is overgeneralization. This thinking believes failing at one thing means everything will fail. If your girlfriend dumps you, you'll never find love again. If you mess up this job, you'll ruin every job. These irrational beliefs are precisely what rational therapy targets. Rational therapy holds that any belief must align with reality. In anime and movies, protagonists overcome all obstacles through courage and effort, defeating every opponent to become winners. Our reality isn't like that. We inevitably face unsolvable problems. Setbacks happen regardless of effort or capability. Even superstars like Liu Shang and Yao Ming, incredibly talented, hardworking with top medical support, couldn't overcome injuries and left their sports at their peak. This sounds bleak. Some might worry this view, effort doesn't guarantee success, bad things happen, could sap motivation. And according to rational therapy, only by rationally accepting life's imperfections can we move forward better. Knowing that not everything will go our way prevents us from collapsing completely after a single setback. Instead, we can quickly pull ourselves together and keep pursuing our goals. For example, many dream of becoming writers. They need to keep writing and submitting their work repeatedly. Rejection is very common in this process. Those who view reality rationally think, okay, rejection hurts, but it doesn't mean I've failed. I can learn from this and keep writing for the next submission. But those with irrational beliefs feel, my novel must be accepted. If rejected, they give up on themselves, believing this failure means they'll never succeed. So those absolutist, irrational beliefs actually make people more fragile and prone to losing motivation. All right, let's summarize part one. Negative emotions can be divided into unhealthy and healthy types. Unhealthy emotions stem from irrational beliefs characterized by absolutism, demanding everything go exactly as desired, while ignoring life's inherent imperfections. When facing setbacks, such people develop painful thoughts that trigger unhealthy emotions. Okay, we've covered how unhealthy emotions arise. Now for part two, how to eliminate unhealthy emotions using rational therapy. It involves 4 steps. The first and most crucial step is to acknowledge this fact. Irrational beliefs aren't created by past experiences, but by ourselves. Psychoanalysis claims childhood experiences determine personality, a view still widely accepted today. Some say my low self-esteem comes from constant childhood criticism by my parents. Others claim my relationship struggles stem from childhood trauma of parental arguments. Ellis discovered in therapy that analyzing the past often backfires. Patients tend to blame all current problems on history. They attribute everything to their parents' faults, but dwelling on the past prevents present change. Ellis also found that even brothers raised in the same family could turn out differently. Some perfectly healthy, others plagued by irrational beliefs. After studying many cases, he concluded that past experiences merely reinforce irrational beliefs. We ourselves create them. This might sound uncomfortable, like we're saying, oh, it's all our own doing, but it also means that if we're willing, we can change ourselves and stop being troubled by emotional issues. Only by accepting this can rational therapy work. In Ellis's therapy group, there were 2 members, Karen and Audrey. Both struggled with severe inferiority complexes. Karen always believed her emotional problems stemmed from constant childhood criticism by her parents. Every session, she'd complain about her parents, blaming everything on them. One day, Audrey couldn't take it anymore. She angrily told Karen, I've had enough. You complain about your parents all day. Let me tell you about mine. They're the gentlest people. They love me, support me in every way, always called me smart and beautiful. But even growing up in this perfect environment, I'm a complete mess now, utterly cowardly and hating myself. Why can't you stop complaining and start living now? After being confronted by Audrey, Karen began reflecting on herself. She tried to stop dwelling on the past and focused instead on overcoming irrational beliefs, ultimately transforming her relationship with her parents and reducing her anxiety. The second step of rational therapy is disputing irrational beliefs. This is the therapy's core. How exactly do you dispute them? You can ask yourself questions. to uncover irrational aspects in your beliefs. Take this example. People with severe inferiority often hold the irrational belief, I must make everyone like me. If someone dislikes me, it must be because I did something wrong. Then terrible things will happen. Everyone will mock me, bully me, and my life will be ruined. As the saying goes, the onlooker sees most clearly. The person involved is lost. Those with low self-esteem struggle to recognize how absurd this belief is. But through targeted questioning, they can gain objectivity. From an outsider's perspective, rationally examine this thought. They can ask themselves, can this belief be achieved? Every irrational belief contains an overly idealized goal. For example, a person with low self-esteem's goal is to be liked by everyone. Can this goal really be achieved? Of course not. How can one person make everyone like them? More commonly, some people like you, some dislike you, and the majority don't care at all. Actually, for any irrational belief, its goal is basically unrealistic because irrational beliefs are very rigid and don't admit exceptions, yet life is always full of exceptions. To expose irrational beliefs more thoroughly, people with low self-esteem can also ask themselves, does this belief make logical sense? If a goal can't be achieved, people will look for reasons. But in irrational beliefs, the reasons in beliefs often lack logical cause and effect relationships. They're all imagined out of thin air. For example, a person with low self-esteem thinks that if someone dislikes them, it must be because they did something wrong. This is, of course, illogical because everyone's standards for liking are different, even contradictory. For instance, some people like proactive, outgoing personalities, while others prefer quiet, low-key, introverted personalities. How could you possibly satisfy conflicting demands? Even if you're an amazing actor and can show different personalities to different people, some just dislike that kind of people-pleasing personality. So what can you do then? So others not liking you doesn't mean you did anything wrong, nor does it mean you're a bad person. What really makes you suffer? Self-attribution, blaming everything on yourself. By clearly seeing the illogic of self-attribution, you can feel much lighter. Another very useful question: are there counterexamples that can prove this belief wrong? The main characteristic of irrational beliefs is detachment from reality, immersed in wishful thinking. So, an effective way to refute it is to find counterexamples in reality. For example, a person with low self-esteem can think, have those who dislike me actually done anything extreme? Or perhaps they haven't harmed me at all. It's all my imagination. You can also look at celebrities who are constantly criticized. Is their life a mess? Or even if they're criticized online, they still live freely and comfortably. After carefully answering these questions, people troubled by unhealthy emotions have completed a rational refutation of irrational beliefs and must have discovered many absurd, ridiculous, and unrealistic aspects. Then they can replace the old irrational beliefs with new ones that are more realistic and flexible. The new belief can be in this format. I hope to achieve a certain goal, but even if a certain situation occurs, I can accept it and continue living. For example, the irrational belief about inferiority can be changed to, I hope everyone likes me, but even if someone doesn't like me, I can accept it and continue living. This new belief doesn't have absolutist content, so it won't cause unhealthy emotions. The third step of rational therapy is to use actions to help change beliefs. The third step is to use actions to help change beliefs, fundamentally altering irrational beliefs. This is a very difficult thing because these beliefs have often accompanied people for many years, becoming instinctive like a reflex. They automatically pop up every time a similar situation arises. Many people, even after realizing the irrationality of the belief, still habitually believe it. To more effectively break irrational beliefs, rational therapy not only advocates rational refutation, but also encourages people to fight with practical actions. Success in actions can help us further break old beliefs and solidify new ones. How to do it? It's also simple. You can pick one irrational belief, try to violate it, and observe if something bad really happens. Suppose my irrational belief is that I absolutely cannot cause conflicts at work, otherwise, colleagues will dislike me or even deliberately sabotage me. Then I would constantly try to please others. Even if I have different opinions, I keep them to myself. Over time, naturally, I become depressed. Then I can try to do something different within safe boundaries, like giving feedback on a colleague's proposal or declining some less important requests and see what happens. I might find that colleagues don't get angry. Instead, they might think I'm assertive and adopt my suggestions. The results of these actions will further weaken the irrational belief, giving me more courage to make more changes. Alice himself also used this method. He was always afraid of meeting unfamiliar women. He believed that if he didn't perform well, something terrible would happen. Yet, for example, the other person would scold him, think he was disgusting, scream and run away, or even call the police. So, Alice set himself a task to approach 100 women alone in the park within a month and ask them out on dates. And Ellis actually did this. Although only one woman agreed to a date and she ended up standing him up, nothing terrible happened. So Ellis realized he could communicate with women. Even if rejected, it was okay, and life could still be happy. Thus, his heterophobia was completely cured. The fourth step of rational therapy is to view setbacks correctly. The fourth step is to view setbacks correctly. Progress is never easy, and beliefs can't be changed overnight. Rational therapy believes that smoothly overcoming unhealthy emotions without any setbacks is practically a miracle. So if you've used these methods but still experience unhealthy emotions, that's very common. Faced with this situation, rational therapy offers two suggestions. First, see setbacks as normal and don't devalue yourself because of them. As mentioned before, one of rational therapy's views is that reality is full of disappointments. Accepting this helps us move forward better. If you find yourself having a setback, that's also an opportunity for practice. At this point, the irrational belief you face is, I absolutely must not have any setbacks. If I have a setback this time, I'll never be able to change. This is, of course, an irrational thought. You can use the previous methods to refute this thought, accept your setback, and then move forward. Second, think about in what situation you had to set back. What was your irrational belief at that time? Continue refuting that belief and find opportunities to try again. For example, if you find that during a speech, you uncontrollably generate various terrifying thoughts, feeling very fearful and anxious, then reanalyze their irrational aspects and replace them with a new belief. Tell yourself, I hope to perform excellently in the speech, but even if I accidentally make a mistake, nothing terrible will happen. I can accept that I didn't perform well and continue living. By practicing this, you'll eventually turn the new belief into a reflex so that as soon as you stand on stage, you automatically think, I'll try my best to perform well, but if I don't, it's no big deal. Then seek opportunities to practice speaking. If you fail, just restart this process. You'll eventually overcome unhealthy emotions. Right. Let's summarize part two. Rational therapy's process for overcoming unhealthy emotions can be divided into 4 steps. Step 1, acknowledge that irrational beliefs are created by ourselves, not past experiences. Step 2, use questions to challenge irrational beliefs. Identify their disconnect from reality and replace them with more flexible new thoughts. Step 3, support belief change through personal actions. Step 4, view setbacks correctly. Accept them and practice consistently to achieve lasting change. With that, we've nearly covered the book Rational emotive behavior. Let's revisit the book's main content. Unhealthy emotions not only hinder progress, but trigger chain reactions that worsen our lives. The root cause of unhealthy emotions is irrational beliefs. People with irrational beliefs replace reality with imagined rules, refusing to accept life's imperfections. Thus, setbacks trigger unhealthy emotions. Rational therapy counters this by first acknowledging irrational beliefs. We create these beliefs ourselves. Then, we question their flaws and replace them with new ones. Action can also prove irrational beliefs wrong, accelerating change. All right, rational emotive behavior. That concludes our interpretation. Reading notes are below the audio. See you tomorrow.